Adriana Olvera, and I've spent the last 30 years working tirelessly helping others. More specifically, the last 15 years working with and for seniors in my community and developing my personal blueprint for senior transitional success. I've cultivated years of relationships, and I know what works and what simply doesn't. I also know the stress associated with making the right decision for you or your loved ones. I've also seen the consequences of making the wrong decision time and again. There's a lot of challenges to be faced, but I'm highly skilled in navigating the chopping waters of finding proper housing and care options for seniors and the vulnerable in Ottawa and surrounding regions. I am now offering my services to the community to ensure that you are informed, you stay informed, and that the process of the transition is one of success. The best part is that my services are always complimentary to you and your loved ones. I hope you take the time to watch this informative video, and most importantly, that you schedule your free 30-minute one-on-one consultation directly with me.
Well, it's my pleasure to sit down today with Adriana Olvera, who has decided to come up with this great new initiative. And as we know, in Ottawa, we have an aging population, many people looking for help, right? There's a lot of transitions that happen. Yes. You've got this brand new business. I want to start off by talking about the inspiration behind it. Where did the inspiration come from?
Well, I've been working in the healthcare industry for almost 16 years now. So I've seen the need out there. As you said, we have an aging population, but mainly the services that families need. It's an overwhelming process to find assistance for our loved ones. And sometimes you don't even know where to start. Sometimes there's an emergency. And working with families directly over the last 15, almost 16 years, then I thought there's something else that my expertise can help these families with.
So what are the challenges? There's obviously challenges for the person that's going through this senior's journey. By the way, that's the name of it. What are the challenges specifically for that senior? And then we'll get into family members as well.
Yeah, so for the senior, number one, they might not want to make the transition. They want to stay at home, of course. And number two, where do I start? You know, there's an overwhelming load of information out there. I don't even know where to start. Maybe I don't have family, so I am expected to solve this problem on my own.
Right.
And then location, right? Do I want to be close to my family? But I've been living in the west end of Ottawa for 63 years. So those are the challenges that they face. Or an emergency hospital, right? I'm in the hospital and I need to be gone yesterday somewhere else. So they face those challenges, and that's where Senior's Journey comes in.
So Adriana, there is also, different reasons why you're leaving. Let's first of all talk about perhaps that emergency situation that a senior may find themselves in. What do they have to think about or take into consideration?
Well, unfortunately, emergencies happen. Mom fell, broke her hip, and here we are. She can't go back home. So we do have to look for a placement, because going back home to recover is not an option.
Okay.
And we know the drill. The hospital wants you out of there yesterday, right after surgery. You're good to go.
Yeah.
So we come in and we help the family narrow down the choices as to, number one, a place that has availability.
Okay.
And that will be comfortable, affordable, and able to meet the needs that mom or dad have at that time.
Okay.
Then from that emergency placement, that can become something permanent, or it's just, I'm only coming for my 30 days, I've recovered, I'm back on my feet literally, and then I'm good to go back home.
So are there those transition places, are they readily available? Because this is a last minute thing that we're talking about, as you said, right? You've had the surgery. The way the healthcare system works now, it's 24, 48 hours later.
Yes.
So there's a lot of availability as far as...
There are places that have availability immediately. Some places have a waiting list, but that's where I come in. Again, rather than you calling 70 different places, gee, can we come tomorrow? What do you have,
Yeah.
I'll narrow it down for you and say, listen, based on your budget, based on your needs, location maybe, and nursing care. Again, going back to is it available? Can they meet my needs? Because you don't want to set up someone up for failure. You want to set them up for success. It's going to be a great recovery, so that A, you like the experience, so you want to stay, or B, you're good to go back home and then revisit the transition part when you are ready for it.
Right. So Adriana, after the emergency situation is done, obviously that eventually you're going to have to find somewhere else to go. What do we look at? What are the options available?
So number one, mom and dad might surprise you and say, "Hey, should have done this a long time ago."
Right.
I've been saying that. And they want to stay where they are because they like the staff. It's been a great experience. Great. Look no more. Or we do want to relocate elsewhere because of a different location. I thought it was a better option, whatever the case
Could
may
be closer to family or your old
Absolutely.
neighborhood, whatever.
That's right. So we again narrowed down that search for the family, the senior themselves, and then we assist with that transition, whether it's from point A, the convalescent place where I was, straight to that home, or I'm going back home for 30 days, couple of weeks, and then I'm making my permanent transition.
Let's say it's not an emergency situation, but we feel, personally that we're on the decline a bit and we need to start looking into the future. There are waiting lists. How far ahead, how far in advance should we be planning?
We can be looking at anywhere from 30 days to, depending on if it's a place where, there might not be the one-bedroom apartment. The one-bedroom apartment that I want, I could be looking at 6 months to a year. So let's plan in advance so that we're not caught by surprise. We're not caught in that emergency. Sometimes individuals have to give 60 days notice where they're currently living. So we could be doing it a 60-day period before making that transition.
Adriana, when looking at a facility, there are different options available at various facilities, sometimes even at the same facility. What are those options?
So we could be looking at independent living, assisted living, maybe services for an individual that requires two-person assist, mechanical lift transfers, total nursing care, or they might not be looking necessarily for a retirement home. They're looking for a long-term care home.
Okay.
So there's all of those options, which once again, very overwhelming. Lots of lingo that families are not familiar with.
Yeah.
That's where I come in. And we can help them see what are the best options. What are the differences between each home? There's a budget too, right? Maybe family members or the senior themselves are working with the budget. So we have to take that into consideration when we're presenting with the most suitable options.
Many people want to stay at home.
Yes.
But they need extra help at home.
Yes.
Is that an option as well that
Yes,
you can help them?
Absolutely. We can help with bringing in home care services, meal preparation, housekeeping, delivery of different services brought to the home. When that no longer is an option because it might not be sustainable, the availability of 24/7 is not there, then we can revisit the topic of now transitioning to an assisted living facility.
Another thing that families are going to struggle with, in particular the seniors themselves, they've lived in this home for many, many years. They have a lot of memories, of course. You can't take all those memories with you.
That's right.
Do you help them through that transition?
Yes, it's very hard to let go of our possessions, and especially those of sentimental value. So we also provide with referrals to professionals that can help the families or the seniors downsize their home, sell off things to auctioneers, to charity, maybe divided amongst family members, but to also bring the most important possessions that are going to make their new place truly feel like home.
Right. And I think technology can help too, right? Nowadays, we can digitize things and so forth.
Yes, we can go through those boxes of 67 photo albums that flooded last spring, you know? So we can scan those, have a picture frame for grandma or for grandpa, and then it's always available to them. And I think that's even incredible. It gives maybe the staff members a way to interact with them. So technology nowadays is just so advanced, so helpful during these transitions.
So I can say from personal experience, the one thing that perhaps my granny, when she finally made that decision, I'm happy to say she made it on her own, was the food, right?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because people have dietary restrictions, but whether it's perhaps for religious reasons, or, just for, perhaps they have some dietary restrictions around, their celiac, or they've got whatever it happens to be. Can you help, or do most facilities take that into consideration?
Yes, and that's an important question because our lives revolve around food. What's for breakfast? What's for dinner? The $1 million question every night, right? And that is a very important part of making the experience of living in a home a successful one. So we also take those things into consideration. I get to know the client. What are their restrictions or religious restrictions or likes and dislikes? So when I present the options is because in that list, that already kind of checks the box.
Right. Another thing that I think people have a hard time with when they're starting to consider, that journey, that transition is I'm going to be isolated. That's not necessarily the case. Sometimes I shouldn't even say sometimes. In almost every single case, you're going to be less isolated when you go
Yes.
somewhere. Let's talk about that, the importance of that, and then perhaps some of the activities that are available to see.
Yes, and that's why, I call this new venture Senior's Journey, because
Right.
it's a journey. It's not the end of the road. Most people say, "Oh, this is the end. I'm going to a home and I'm just gonna be isolated." No,
Right.
it's a new part of your journey. You'll probably make new friends. You'll attend activities, bingo, exercise classes. So it's very important that the families and the senior themselves realize that I'm going to have more stimulations than I probably did at home because
Right.
I was there by myself. So most people say, I call my mother now and she doesn't even answer the phone. She's attending all the activities. She has more social life than I do. So
Yeah.
if during our discovery, we start with a free consultation, then you tell me, these are the things that mom used to do in the past, or my dad, or I like to see him participating in such and such activities. I am also going to look for a home that is going to be able to accommodate those wants and needs.
One thing that's going to come up, of course, and all these options, obviously, you walk them through it. You mentioned budget a little bit earlier, right?
right.
Everybody has a different budget. Many seniors on a fixed income, and they're listening to us and they say, this all sounds great, Adriana, but what's it going to cost?
I know it sounds too good to be true, but my services are complimentary, free of charge, and there's no catch. They're free of charge.
You heard the lady. No catch.
So again, we start with a free consultation, and then the process of selecting a home, moving into a home, and referring you to other services is absolutely free of charge.
Okay. That leads me to my final question is then how can people get in touch with you, Adriana?
People get in touch with me through seniorsjourney.ca. For those like my dad that prefer to pick up the phone and call me, they can contact me at 613-790-9355, or you can send us an email to info@seniorsjourney.ca.
Well, thank you so much for this. And I would say that on behalf of seniors and families out there, the fact that this is complimentary is going to help so many people, Adriana. Really
That's the goal.
appreciate it.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
my pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed my informative video briefly outlining what I do and how I can help you and your loved ones with the next big move, whether it's now or long into the future. Most people plan is not to have a plan. It is my mission to ensure this doesn't happen to you. Now it's the time to schedule a free 30-minute consultation to ensure that you are prepared. I look forward to connecting.